Welcome everyone. Hello, my name is Jason Gorenstein, and I'm bringing you a live streaming yoga on Facebook. So these classes, if you're just finding this, are offered every day. So if you're interested at all, please just find your way to my Facebook page, hit the like button, and you could join in whenever your schedule allows. So for today's class, this is going to be a Hatha Yoga Level 1 class. This occurs every Sunday at 10:15 a.m. and roughly goes until 11:10 a.m. So all classes that I offer are 55 minutes in duration, and they are accessible to all levels of students. So this is a beginner's levels class, while if you're interested in something more intermediate or advanced, those classes are offered as well. Just please find your way to my Facebook page, and the schedule is located in the notes section of the page. The schedule is updated every week, so if you have any questions about the classes, you can always direct message me and let me know. But the idea is to offer free yoga classes for everyone. So this is done through Facebook. I also place the classes on YouTube after the classes have been recorded. So if you ever miss a class, you could always tune into YouTube and you'll be able to participate in the classes there. So without further ado, let us begin. And once again, this is a Hatha Yoga Level 1 class. So this is a beginner's levels class. And this is offered on Facebook Live for free. So I hope that you guys enjoy this practice. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let us begin. And we're going to find our way into Child's Pose. So if you're new to yoga, I'll be talking about each of these postures and just learning about the various components of the practice. So Child's Pose is a pose where you release your hips towards your heels. So see that the hands are about shoulders width distance apart, knees are about hips width distance apart, and just begin to release the hips towards the heels. And as soon as you release the hips towards the heels, release the head on down and take the arms back behind the body so that the palms face the ceiling. And as you continue to breathe here, this is the very first pose. And it gives us an opportunity to find our way into this space of practice. Now notice your breath and just allow your breath to be both natural, long, and slow. As we continue to breathe here, so allowing for those inhalations and those exhalations to bring your attention back to your body. So yoga practice, especially if you're new, it's a practice in which we become more acquainted with our bodies, our breath, and our minds. And Child's Pose is a perfect posture to start because it allows for us to, once again, be fully present of our bodies, our breaths, and our minds. And from Child's Pose, you'll take the fingers forward in front of you. You'll inhale, you'll peel up your chest, and you'll find your way into Tabletop Pose. So Tabletop Pose also could be known as a 4-point pose where you have the contact points of your palms making contact with the floor. Palms are directly underneath the shoulders. The knees are under the hips. And as we take Tabletop Pose, it's a great opportunity for us to observe once again our body and our breath. So these are some of the more fundamental postures of yoga. And as you take Child's Pose, as you take Tabletop's Pose, you can begin to spread your fingers wide apart here. So allow your fingers to press down on that mat. Allow the fingers to spread wide apart. And we're going to begin to incorporate a little bit of movement here into our practice. So as you inhale, you'll lift the chest up a little bit higher than those shoulders. And as soon as you do that, wrap your triceps in towards one another. So what this does is it actually sets the shoulders into the sockets of the back, and it allows for the chest to lengthen here broaden across the top of the chest. On the next exhalation, you're going to begin to round across the spine. Allow your tailbone to move back towards the backs of the knees. Allow the head to release down so that the ears are moving towards the upper arms. And this is called cat pose. As you inhale again, you're going to inhale back into table pose. And once again, move forward and lift up into cow. So inhale, lifting the chest on up, spreading across the collarbones, breathing in here. On an exhalation, rounding across the spine and finding your way into cat pose. Releasing the head, softening the eyes, and breathing here. As you inhale, broadening across the chest, lengthening through the heart, the chest and the sternum. Once again, cow pose. As you tuck the toes underneath, float the thighs back, downward facing dog. So as you find your way to your first downward facing dog, pedal the feet a few times and begin to allow the chest to move closer towards your thighs. Allow the inner arms to begin to lift up towards your ceiling and allow the outer arms to begin to wrap in towards the floor. Notice the breath as it travels into the back of the body, and once again, lower the knees down to the mat. Inhale, peeling up the chest and the heart for our cow pose. Exhale, rounding across the spine for our cat pose. Again, inhale, peeling across the chest for your cow. Exhale, rounding across the spine for the cat. One more time, lengthening forward for cow pose. Tuck the toes underneath. Press down through the tops of the feet. Float the thighs back, downward facing dog. Good. So this time in downward facing dog, lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. And breathe here into the entire right and left sides of the body. Feel the fingers pressing down. Left knee is bent. Left outer hip draws back. Keep breathing as you lengthen and spread across the shoulders. On an exhalation, lower that right foot down and begin to inhale, lengthening across through the left leg. So the left inner thigh lifts up. Both palms press down. Fingers are spread wide apart. And we continue to wrap the outer triceps in. By doing so, that allows for the backs of the shoulders to spread wide apart. Keep lengthening through the right hip. Keep pressing through the left heel. On an exhale, lower that left foot down and find your way back onto your knees. Inhale, spreading across the chest, finding your way into cow pose. Exhale, rounding across the spine for our cat pose. Again, inhale, lengthening across the chest for your cow. Exhale, spreading across the spine for your cat. Good. Inhale, coming forward once again. You're going to press down through the hands, float the legs up, find your way back into downward facing dog. As you take downward facing dog pose this time, walk your hands back to your feet and find your way into a forward fold. Forward fold is Uttanasana. It's called Uttanasana. It means forward fold. Actually, it means intense stretch. Whenever the word prefix ut is used, it means intense. And the reason for that is we're creating a stretch along the backs of the legs. So see here that the weight travels from your heels to your toes. Let your head release down towards the mat. And allow the weight of the forearms to begin to create some space and elongation along the back of the spine. Now take your hands, place your hands on your low back, and as you press down through the tops of the feet, inhale, peel the chest on up. Find your way to standing. So as you come into standing, we take Tadasana at the top of the mat and allow the chest to spread wide apart. So as you inhale here, begin to spread those collarbones a little bit wider apart. And as you exhale, begin to feel the fingers lengthening down to the mat. As you inhale here, press down through those feet. And as you exhale, feel the breath traveling in and up through the sternum. On an inhale here, raise the arms up and above the head, lengthening through the fingers. And on an exhale, hinging at your hips and folding all the way down towards the mat. Good. Take your hands to your shins. Inhale, lengthen across the chest. And as you exhale, hinge at those hips and release the hands back down to the earth. Inhale, float the arms up towards the ceiling. Raise up through the fingers, spread across those collarbones, hug the belly in. And as you exhale, glide those arms back down to your sides. Good. Inhale, floating the arms up and above your head, maybe the palms touch. As you exhale, hinge and fold here. So on an in-breath, we lift up halfway, and you have the option of bringing your hands to your shins. Like we did in downward facing dog, let the outer upper arms draw back towards the sides of the ribs. Lengthen your chest forward. On an exhale, hinge at the hips and release the hands down to the earth. As you inhale, raise the arms up towards the ceiling. Press down through the feet. Firm the outer thighs in. And as you exhale here, glide the arms back to your sides. So try to do one more on your own. Inhale, lifting up through the chest. As you exhale, hinge and fold here. Inhale, lengthening up halfway. As you exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, raising the arms up towards the ceiling, lengthening through those side ribs. Maybe the fingers touch. And on an exhalation, bringing the hands back down to the sides. So we're going to incorporate these movements as we find our way onto the mat. Inhale, raise your arms up above your head. Exhale, hinge at your hips and release your torso down towards the earth. Inhale, hands come to the shins, lengthen across the spine. Take your hands down to the mat, walk your feet back, find your way into the top of a push-up pose here. So as we find our way into a push-up pose, spread across the hands, firm the outer thighs in and release the knees down. So again here, you want to see that the fingers are spread wide apart. Ideally, we want to see that the index fingers line up with the inner edges of the mat. As you shift your weight forward, bend your elbows in towards the chest, lower on down. Good. Inhale, press on up. And then you're going to shift your hips on back and find your way into downward facing dog pose again. So that's a very common action that we approach as we develop our yoga practice. Finding your way back into the downward facing dog pose, allow the breath to continue naturally. Good. And as you feel ready here, looking in between the palms, walk your feet forward towards the hands. Take your hands, walk your hands back to the feet, and take your hands to the shins as you inhale, lengthening across the chest. On an exhalation, release the hands down to the mat. As you inhale, raise your arms up and above your head, lengthening through your fingers. And on an exhalation, taking your arms back down to the sides. So as we breathe here, keep lifting through the top of the chest. Keep spreading across those collarbones. And breathing here as you lengthen through the heart. On an inhale, raise your arms up and above your head. On an exhale, hinging at the hips, folding down all the way to the mat. As you inhale, lengthen across the chest, the heart, the sternum. Take the hands down to the earth again. Walk the feet back, find your way into the top of a push-up. Lower the knees down to the earth. Bend the elbows in towards the body as you lower the chest on down. Press the palms down to lift the chest on up. And again, float the thighs back, downward facing dog pose. Downward facing dog pose here, spreading across the fingers, lengthening across the hip bones, and allowing for those heels to lengthen to the back of the room. Once again here, begin to look in between those hands and walk the feet forward towards the hands. On an inhale, lengthen across the chest, heart, and sternum. And as you exhale, release the hands down to the earth. Inhale, float the arms up towards the ceiling, Urdhva Hastasana arms. And as you exhale, glide the hands back down to your sides. Good. So once again, inhale, raise your arms up above your head, lengthen across the fingers. As you exhale, hinge at those hips and release your torso down to the earth. Take your hands to the shins. Inhale, lengthen across the chest. Hands come back down to the earth. Walk the feet back. Find your way to the top of a push-up. Take your chest to parallel with the mat. Lower the knees down. This time we're going to lower all the way down. So as you bend the elbows towards the chest, take the shoulders forward of the wrist. Walk the fingers back so the fingers hug against the sides of your ribs. Firm the outer elbows in, and as you press down through the fingers, begin to peel the top of the chest up. On an exhalation, release the head on down. So again, begin to walk the fingers back so that the palms fall directly underneath the elbows. As you press down through the tops of the feet, firm the belly in and begin to lift the chest on up. See that the elbows hug towards one another. See that the shoulder blades move into the center chest. On an exhalation, tuck your toes underneath. Press down through the fingers, press down through the knees. Float the thighs back. Downward facing dog pose. So as we take downward facing dog pose, allow the inner upper arms to lift towards the ceiling. Allow the outer upper arms to release down towards the mat. Lower the knees down towards the mat. And as you inhale, peel the chest on up once again for cow pose. On an exhale, rounding the spine for a cat pose. So on the next inhale breath, take your hands, maybe to blocks, and place your hands on either side of your mat. Step the right foot forward. As you step the right foot forward, see that the right heel is pressing down. See that the right outer hip is hugging in. Now take the left ball of the foot, press it down, and on an inhale, begin to lift up your left thigh. As the left thigh lifts up off the mat, press the right buttocks in towards the midline of the body and lengthen your chest forward towards the front of the room. Breathe here as you feel your entire body elongating from the left heel all the way up through the crown of the head. Continue to wrap your outer upper arms in here. And on an exhale, release that left knee on down. Step your right leg back. Once again, as you move the blocks to the sides, press down through the hands and float your thighs up. Find your way back into downward facing dog pose. Continue to spread across the fingers. Continue to wrap your outer upper arms in. And breathe here as you firm the belly in towards the back of the spine. On an exhalation, release the knees down to the mat. And we're going to step the left foot in between the hands. As you step the left foot forward in between the hands, press down through the left foot. See that that left outer hip is hugging in. See that the right toes are pressing down. Press the right heel back, lift the right inner leg up, and continue to lengthen across the spine. Allow the outer upper arms to draw back as you lengthen your sternum forward. Feel the engagement from the pubis all the way up through the crown of the head as you lengthen the chest to the front of the mat. On an exhalation, release the right knee down to the mat. Place the blocks off to the side, step the left foot back. As you feel ready, spreading across the fingers, float the thighs up, downward facing dog pose. Downward facing dog pose, see that the feet are at least hips width distance apart. Allow the inner upper legs to draw back towards the back of the room. Allow that belly to draw towards the ceiling. And as you look in between the hands, again, walk the feet forward towards the hands. On an in-breath, take the hands to the shins and lengthen your heart and sternum forward. Draw the tops of the shoulders back. On an exhale, release the hands back down to the mat. Glide your arms up towards the ceiling. See that your pinky fingers begin to lengthen all the way up towards the top of the room. And on an out breath, begin to bring your hands back to the sides of the body. Good. So as we inhale together, raise the arms up towards the ceiling and look up towards the fingers. Maybe your fingers touch. On an out breath, release your hands all the way down towards the mat. Inhale, take your hands to the shins. Lengthen your heart forward as you draw the tops of your shoulders back. On an out breath, take your hands to the mat, walk your feet back into the top of a push-up. Release your knees down to the mat. Bend the elbows towards the body and begin to lower the chest all the way down. Walk your hands back so that the hands fall directly underneath the elbows. And as you press the fingers down, begin to peel the chest on up. Good. On an out breath, tuck the toes underneath. Press the thighs back. Downward facing dog pose. So as you take downward facing dog pose, spread across the fingers. Feel the inner upper arms lifting up towards the ceiling. Allow the hip bones to draw back towards the back of the room. See that the heels continue to lengthen back towards the back of the room. Lower the knees down to the mat once again and step your right foot in between your hands. See that the right foot is directly in the center of the mat and allow both fingers to come directly underneath your shoulders. As you tuck your left toes underneath you, press the left heel back and turn your left heel 90 degrees so that your left inner and outer foot make contact with the earth. As you press down through the right foot, begin to take both hands to the hips and come to standing, straightened across your right leg. See that your right foot is in the center of the mat. And as you press your right ball of the foot down, bend deeply into that right knee. Allow the chest to remain lifted here as you spread across the tops of the chest. Straighten that right leg once again and begin to look at the left foot. See that the left foot is turned in. Once again, bend deeply into that right knee. Take your arms now and lengthen your arms out to your sides from your center chest. See that your left foot is pressing down. See that your right thigh is pressing down. Begin to feel both arms lengthening and spreading across the chest. Straighten across the right leg and take the hands back to the hips again. One more time, bend deeply into that right knee. See that you're pressing down through the right foot. Take your arms out to the sides and allow both arms to spread across the chest. Relax the backs of the shoulders as you lift the inner upper arms up. Spin the left palm up towards the ceiling. Take the left palm and release the left palm down to the mat. Turn your left foot in and step your right foot back. So again, we come into a plank posture. We lower our knees down to the earth, and we lower our chest all the way down to the earth. Take your hands, walk your hands back to your side ribs. Allow your inner upper arms to draw in towards one another. So feel your shoulder blades moving in towards the sternum. As you firm the belly in, tuck your toes underneath. Press down through the feet. Inhale, begin to lift the chest on up and find your way back into downward facing dog pose. From downward facing dog pose, you're going to step your left foot forward in between your hands. So as you feel ready, step your left foot forward in between your hands. And I'm actually going to show you on the opposite side so that you can see the posture. So as you step the left foot forward in between your hands, see that the left foot is directly in the center of the mat. Hands are underneath the shoulders. Press down through the right ball of the foot. Lift the right leg up. Now turn your right foot so that the right heel makes contact with the earth. And see that your left heel is in line with the right arch of the foot. As you press down through both feet, begin to lift your chest up and take your hands to the hips. Straighten your left leg and lift your chest. So the chest turns to the side of the room and the arms extend out to the sides from the center chest. As you look forward over your left hand, begin to bend deeply into that left knee. See that the left thigh is drawing down towards the mat. See that the right heel is pressing down. On an in-breath, take your arms up towards the ceiling and straighten your left leg. On an out-breath, take your arms out to the sides and see that your palms become parallel with the floor. On an in-breath, Glide the arms up towards the ceiling here and lengthen across the chest. And on an out breath, take your hands once again parallel with the mat. One more time. On an in breath, we sweep the arms up and raise them up above the head. And on an out breath, we glide our arms out to our sides. Take your right hand, windmill it down to the mat. Step your left leg back to meet your right leg at the back of the mat. Again, lower the knees down to the mat and be here for a moment in Tabletop Pose. As you take Tabletop Pose, firm your upper, outer arms in towards one another. See that you press down through the fingers here and begin to take the right leg back to the back of the room. On an in-breath, lift the right leg up and see that the right leg is in line with the right hip. Good. Firm your belly in. And as you feel ready, exhale, release that leg on down. So again, pressing through the fingers here. Take the left leg back, lift the left leg up. So as you flex across the left foot, see that you lift from the left inner leg. Continue to press down through the fingers and draw your right outer hip in. Keep lifting through that left inner leg. On an out breath, release that knee on down. So take your feet, tuck the toes underneath you, press down through the toes as you lift the legs up and find your way again into a downward facing dog pose. So this time, lift your right leg up and allow the hands to spread wide apart. On an out breath, take the right knee into the chest and step the right foot in between the hands. To do so, possibly lower the left knee and step the foot forward. As you tuck the left toes underneath, press the left heel back and spin your left heel down towards the mat. See that your right heel lines up with the left arch of the foot. As you firm your outer thighs in, windmill your hands up and out to the sides as you come into Warrior Two pose. Straighten across the right leg and again, take the hands to the hips. See that the right foot is in line with the right hip, the right knee. See that the left foot is turned slightly in. Glide your arms out to the sides and begin to lengthen across the chest. As you press through the right ball of the foot, hinge your right hip back towards your left heel and release your right hand down your right leg. Take your left arm up towards the ceiling. As you press through the right ball of the foot, firm your right outer buttocks in. See that the left pinky toe side of the foot presses down. See that the left thigh draws back. On an in-breath, allow the left upper chest to lift up towards the left fingers. Allow your shoulder blades to spread across the back of the spine. On an in-breath, lift your left arm up and bend deeply into your right knee. Take your hands to your hips here and breathe for a moment. Now straighten across that right leg. One more time, bend deeply into that right knee and extend your arms out to your sides. Take the left palm up towards the ceiling, glide the left arm up and over the head, and step your right leg back to meet the left. Lower the knees down to the mat. On an in-breath, lift your chest on up for a cow pose, and on an out breath, round the upper spine and shoulders for a cat pose. Come forward once again. Bend the elbows in towards the chest, lower all the way down. See that the hands walk directly underneath the elbows. Firm the outer upper arms in so that the tops of the shoulders are pressing down. Feel the center chest lifting up, and as you press down through the tops of the feet, begin to firm the belly in. On an out breath, tuck the toes underneath. Lift the chest up. Float your thighs back. Find your way into downward facing dog. On the next in-breath, float your left leg up towards the ceiling. Allow the fingers to be spread wide apart. Allow the right outer upper hip to draw back. On an out-breath, draw the left knee into the chest. Now you can either release the right knee to step the left foot forward, or you can just step the left foot forward in between the hands. As you do so, and allow me to turn to the other side of the mat, spin the right foot down and begin to float your hands up towards your hips as you find your way into a standing posture. Glide your arms out to the sides. Straighten across your left leg and allow the left ball of the foot to press down towards the mat. Firm your left outer upper hip in and begin to glide your left shoulder forward, your left chest forward. Release the left palm down on the left shin. Take the right arm up towards the ceiling. Feel both feet pressing down towards the mat. Allow the upper shoulders to spread wide apart. Let the shoulders move towards the hips as you lengthen across the top of the chest. Breathe as you look up towards those right fingers. And on an in-breath, lift up your right hand. Lift up your left hand. Take your hands back to your hips. Bend deeply into the left knee. And again, straighten across that left leg. Bend deeply into that left knee. And straighten across that left leg. One more time. Bend deeply into that left knee. Take the arms out to the side. Float the right arm up towards the ceiling and windmill your hands back down to the earth. As you spin onto the ball of your right foot, step your left foot back. So I'm flipping the mat again. Once again, lower the knees down to the mat. Lower the chest down to the mat. And find your way into Shalambhasana. This is called Cobra Pose. Now take your forehead and release the forehead down to the earth. Take your hands and bring your hands along sides of your body so that the palms face the ceiling. Press down through the tops of the feet and begin to lift from the top of the chest. As you firm your belly in, feel your shoulders moving down the spine and begin to turn your pinky fingers towards the ceiling as your thumbs turn down towards the mat. Let your belly hug in. Let your arms lift up. And maybe even here, float the legs up as you move into Shalambhasana or Locust Pose. On an out breath, release the feet down to the mat and take your hands under the chest once again. Tuck your toes underneath. Press down through the hands. Lift the chest up. Float your thighs back. Again, downward facing dog pose. So one more time, we're going to lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. See that that left heel presses back. See that that left hip draws towards the right heel. Again, draw the right knee into the chest, and you have the option of lowering the left knee down and stepping your right foot forward, or shifting your shoulders over the wrist and stepping your right foot in between the hands. Once again, spin the left heel down. See that the right buttocks draws in, and float your arms up and out to the sides. Warrior Two pose. Straighten across the right leg and take the hands to the hips. So once again, left foot is turned in. Right foot is in a straight line. Allow the right upper hip to draw back. Allow the left ball of the foot to press down. Bend deeply into that right knee and take your arms out to your sides. Take your right hand. Begin to glide your right arm forward and place your right forearm on top of the right thigh crease. Take your left hand, place it on top of the left hip. Firm the right buttocks in towards the midline of the body and begin to revolve your chest up towards the ceiling. Press down through the left ball of the foot and inhale, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Take your left palm, glide it back behind you. Glide your left hand down towards the floor. Glide your left arm up and over your head. See that your left ball of the foot is pressing down as you look up towards those left fingers. On an in-breath, take your left arm and raise it up towards the ceiling. And on an out-breath, begin to find your way back into Warrior Two. Straighten across that leg. Bend deeply into the right knee. Once again, windmill your left hand up and bring your left hand down to the mat. Spin onto the ball of your left foot. Step your right foot back to meet the left. Shift forward into plank, a push-up. Lower the knees down. Lower your chest all the way down towards the mat. Release the feet down. Now take your hands, interlace your hands behind your back. See that the elbows begin to face the ceiling. Begin to lift your chest on up. As you lift the chest on up, let the chin lower slightly and breathe here. Lift the right toes up off the mat as you press down through the left foot. Lift the left toes up off the mat as you begin to lengthen the buttocks towards the heels. Firm your belly in and continue to lengthen your chest on forward. As you take the toes down to the mat, release the hands to either side of the chest, press down through the fingers, and begin to float the thighs back into downward facing dog. Downward facing dog pose, float the left leg up and allow both sides of the hips to lengthen back to the back of the mat. As you draw your left knee into the chest, begin to shift your shoulders forward over the wrists. You have the option of lowering your right knee down. Otherwise, you can step your left foot forward in between your hands. I'm just going to change sides of the mat so you guys can see. As you step the left foot forward, spin the right heel down and see that both feet are pressing down onto the mat. Now take your hands, bring your arms up, out to your sides, and we come into a pose called Warrior Two. Straighten across that left leg and take your hands to the hips. See that your left foot is in a straight line and bend deeply into that left knee. Now take your left forearm, place your left forearm on top of your left thigh, and place your right hand on top of your right hip. Press the right heel down. See that the right hip turns slightly towards the ground, and inhale, float your right arm up. Take your right palm, glide your right palm down towards the floor, and begin to spin your right arm up and out of your right shoulder socket. Allow the right upper arm to be revolving down towards the mat. Firm the left buttocks in. Utthita Parshvakonasana. On an in-breath, take your right arm up towards the ceiling and allow that to lift you up. Spin your right hand down to the mat. Step your left leg to meet the right leg at the back of the mat. Find your way into plank pose. Plank pose again. Lower the knees down to the mat. Lower your chest all the way down to the mat. So one more time. Untuck the toes. Take the hands behind the back. See that the fingers are interlaced the goofy way. Now take your fingers. Begin to see that your wrist make contact with the tailbone. Let the elbows draw up towards the ceiling. As you straighten across the arms, begin to float the chest up. Now, as you press down through the right ball of the foot, lift the left leg up. Take the left foot and draw it into the midline of the body. As you press the left foot slightly down, draw the right foot up. So both feet are lifted off the mat. Allow the pinky toe side of the feet to revolve down towards the mat. Firm the belly in here as you breathe. On an out breath, release the toes down, release the hands down. And as you press down through the hands and the feet, you'll find your way back into downward facing dog pose. As we make our way into downward facing dog pose, we're going to step the right foot forward in between the hands. You can always lower the left knee down to do so. And spin the left foot down. On an in-breath, take your hands to your hips and straighten across the right leg. Turn both feet to parallel. See that the feet are even with the outer edges of the mat so that both feet are like a mirror of each other. As you feel ready, on an in-breath, lift the chest, heart, and sternum up. Allow the elbows to draw back to the back of the room. On an out-breath, begin to hinge the hips forward and release your trunk of the body down towards the earth. Now take your hands. Begin by gliding your hands down your shins and see if the head releases any amount more towards the earth. Now, bring the weight from the inner arch of the foot to the outer arch of the foot so that the inner leg begins to lift up. Allow the elbows to draw up towards the ceiling and take your hands directly underneath your chest. On an in-breath, lengthen your chest, heart, and sternum forward and walk the hands back so that the heels of the palm are in line with the heels of the foot. On an out-breath, begin to bend the elbows here and release the head down towards the earth. See that the elbows continue to firm in. See that the head continues to release down. Now walk your hands forward. On an in-breath, wrap your outer upper arms in and lengthen here. On an out-breath, begin to heel-toe your feet towards one another and eventually taking your hands to your hips. On an in-breath, lift the chest up and find your way to standing. Take the feet together and come to Tadasana. In Tadasana pose, interlace your fingers in front of the chest. Take the palms forward in front of you and lift your arms all the way up towards the ceiling. See that the feet are pressing down. See that the thighs are drawing back. And as the belly engages in, continue to wrap the outer upper arms in towards one another. As you take your hands, glide your hands back behind you and interlace your fingers here. As you take your fingers interlaced, lift your chest up, and on an out breath, begin to hinge forward and release your trunk of the body down towards the earth. Now take your hands, allow the fingers to lift up off the low back, and maybe the fingers lift up towards the ceiling here. This is called Baddha Uttanasana, bound Uttanasana, or bound forward fold pose. On an in-breath, lift the chest up, lift the heart up, lift the sternum up. One more time. Interlace the fingers. Baddha Golyasana, the opposite way. Press your palms forward in front of you and lift your fingers up towards the ceiling. As you wrap the outer upper arms in, firm the belly in and lift through the side ribs. On an out breath, begin to take the hands back behind you and interlace the fingers. Goofy way, so the same as we just did. On an in-breath, draw the elbows back towards one another and lift the top of the chest up. And on an out-breath, as you hinge your hips forward, begin to take your fingers over the head and release the head on down. So continue to allow the weight to travel from the heels to the toes as you wrap your outer upper arms in. Now take the hands to the low back. Inhale, lift the chest on up and find your way back into Tadasana pose. On an in-breath, raise the arms up towards the ceiling, and on an out-breath, release the hands down towards the earth. Inhale, lengthening across the chest. Take your hands down to the mat and walk your feet back. Lower the knees down to the earth, and now you're going to windmill your feet, or you're going to swim your feet forward of your legs and find your way onto your low back. So as you find your way onto your low back, see that the knees are hugging into the chest here. Grab hold of your right shin, place your left foot down on the mat. Ekapada Appanasana, or one knee. Eka means one, pada means foot, appa means ball pose. So one knee, foot, ball pose. Breathe in here into the right groin. Breathe into the right outer hip. Good. And on an exhale, take hold of the opposite leg. So, hug the left shin into the chest. Continue to allow the left hip to move away from you. And breathe here. Good. Release that foot on down. Take the right knee into the chest once again. Lengthen your entire left leg forward to the front of the mat and see that your right knee begins to move to the right shoulder. Allow the left thigh to press down towards the mat. Let the left toes be flexed. Allow the right toes to be flexed here as you breathe. And as you draw the left knee into the chest, change. So the right foot lengthens, the left leg draws in, and we breathe here. Allow that left knee to move towards the left shoulder. Flex across the left foot. And flexing across the right foot as well. bring both knees into a bent position, Apanasana pose. And on an out breath, release the feet down to the earth. Now take your hands, bring your hands to the outer edges of your mat. Grab hold of your outer edges of the mat. Roll over to the right and take your left tricep under the body. Roll over to your left and take your right tricep under the body. See that both triceps are under the body as the biceps begin to lift up towards the ceiling. As you firm the outer upper arms in, press down through the feet and float your pelvis up. As you lift the pelvis up, see that your belly is engaged. See that the thighs are drawing down towards the mat, and allow the sternum to draw towards the chin. Let both shoulder blades move into the center chest as you breathe here. And on an out breath, lower the pelvis down. So take the feet down to the mat, press down through the tops of the feet, lift the pelvis up, and interlace the fingers under the back. Now take the left shoulder and bring it underneath you. Take the right shoulder, bring it underneath you. See that the thighs, the outer upper thighs, begin to revolve in towards one another. Allow the shoulder blades to move into the center chest. Firm the belly in. Release the hands, lower the pelvis down, and walk out the triceps underneath the body. So we're going to do this one more time. The fingers hold on to the outer edges of the mat. You're going to roll over towards your right. You're going to roll the left shoulder under you. You're going to roll over towards the left. You're going to roll the right shoulder under you. You're going to see that both outer upper arms press down as you press down through the feet. You'll take the fingers underneath the back as you lift the pelvis up, and you'll interlace the fingers the goofy way this time as you begin to lift the top of the chest. Press down through the wrist, press down through the forearms, press down through the fingers. Firm the outer upper arms in. See that the outer upper hips firm in as well as you firm the belly in. Bridge pose, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Release the bind, lower the pelvis down to the mat. Now take your arms out to the sides and draw your knees back into your chest. Take both knees and release both knees over towards the left side of your mat. Now take your left hand and place it over top of your right thigh. This is called Jartha Parivartanasana, which is a stomach churning pose. Draw your knees into the chest. Scoot your pelvis over to the other side and let your knees release over towards your right as you take your right hand on top of your left thigh. Simple twist to the opposite side.
Come back to center with those legs. Now roll over onto your side. Press your way on up.
And we're going to take a forward fold pose. So you'll take your right knee and firm your right knee into the chest here. Let's start here. We're going to take a twist first. So take your right hand around your bent right knee. Take your left hand, place your left hand, behind your back and begin to spin your chest over towards the left palm. So see that your chest is lifted, see that your eyes are closed and your belly is engaged here. This is called Marichyasana pose. Now let's change sides. So you're going to take your right leg extended out in front of you. You'll take your left knee into a bent position. Grab hold of your left shin. Take your right hand, place it behind you. Marichyasana pose. Come back to center. Take your left leg forward. Take your right foot in. Take your right knee to a bent position. And then take both of your hands. Take both of your hands and lift them up towards the ceiling. So see that your arms are lifting up towards the ceiling and lift through the top of your chest. On an out breath, begin to lengthen your fingers over towards your foot and grab hold of your foot. If you can't grab hold of your foot, grab hold of your shin or take a strap and place a strap over the top of your foot. On an out breath, begin to allow your chest to release down towards that thigh. Begin to lift your elbows up towards the ceiling here so that your triceps begin to move in line with your ears. And on an in-breath, begin to lift your arms up towards the ceiling again. Take your hands to your sides, take the right knee in, and we change legs. So the right foot comes on in. The right foot touches into the left thigh crease. We take both of our arms and raise our fingers up towards the ceiling. And on an out breath, we begin to hinge the trunk of the body to grab hold of the feet. So if you have a difficult time grabbing hold of your feet, please consider using a strap here. On an out breath, release your head down towards that knee. Lengthen your fingers forward. On an in-breath, raise your arms up towards the ceiling. Take your left knee, bring it in, extend your left leg on forward. So take both of your legs forward of your chest and lift both of your arms up towards the ceiling. On an out breath, begin to hinge the weight of the body forward to grab hold of your feet. Release the head down. Okay, lift the chest, lift the heart up. Scoot the pelvis forward. Take the legs forward of the body. Release the trunk of the body down towards the earth. Take your arms. Bring your arms out to your sides. See that your shoulders roll underneath you. See that the legs release out to either side of the body. And allow your breath to remain long and slow. Take your knees to a bent position. Roll your body onto your side. Press your top palm into the earth to lift the chest knot up. Find your way into a seated position, cross-legged preferably. And take your hands to the center chest. So, on an out breath, release the chin towards the chest. Take the hands to the tops of the thighs, palms face up. Gently lift the head and open the eyes. Namaste. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this live online class. My name is Jason Gorenstein. If you have any interest, we do live streaming classes every single day of the week, all different classes, all different levels. So this is a beginner's levels class. And let me know if you guys have any questions. You can find me at Yoga with Jason G. I go by Yoga with Jason G. I was going to go by Yoga with Jason, but that name was taken, so I'm Yoga with Jason G. So I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Please feel free to find me on my Facebook page. And in closing, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. As always, my friends, be well, be happy. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Thanks, guys.